Thank you for joining us today for the launch of the 2025 International Congress for Qualitative Research and Theory Methodologies, hosted by the Institute for Research and Theory Methodologies, RTM for short. I'm Kara Vanderlinden, and I'm the founder and director of RTM. RTM trains, mentors, supports, and connects students, faculty, and researchers worldwide in qualitative, multi-method, mixed method, and grounded theory research across disciplines to cultivate methodological expertise and research excellence. Our goal is to support the development of methodological expertise and to promote lifelong learning. We do this by providing accessible, high-quality training and mentoring to students, faculty, and researchers worldwide and across disciplines. We support and build communities of researchers who engage in rigorous research to address complex issues facing society, organizations, and individuals today. One of the ways we do this is through our annual conferences. RTM and CQ University Australia have pioneered a unique and innovative twist for this conference. Rather than one event, ic-QRTM is a month-long event where participants get to learn more about qualitative research for free from researchers around the world. Starting later today or tomorrow, depending on where you are in the world, all of our sessions will go live on our YouTube channel. A little later in the presentation, I will put the link to that channel in the chat. Today, I have the privilege of introducing our keynote speaker, Dr. Kate McAlpine. Dr. Kate McAlpine is a distinguished academic, deeply committed to building an evidence-based deeply committed to building an evidence base of practical knowledge that empowers individuals to thrive. With over 25 years of experience as a researcher, strategist, and activist in East Africa and the UK, Dr. McAlpine's research explores people's desires to do the right thing, particularly in promoting the well-being of women, young, and Indigenous people across Africa. Her research practice aims to capture their voices, explore their realities, and leverage human-centered tech to amplify their impact on society. In her varied roles as a scholar, practitioner, and entrepreneur, Dr. McAlpine has collaborated with a diverse array of clients, including government agencies, funders, philanthropists, research bodies, and community builders. Today, they work towards bringing about meaningful and lasting change that benefits society as a whole. Through these partnerships, Dr. McAlpine continues to play a pivotal role in advancing positive change and fostering a culture of shared responsibility and compassion. Today, she is going to share with us how her research and work aligns with the conference theme, Listening, Learning, and Leading Change Through Qualitative Research, highlighting the power of qualitative methods in uncovering lived experiences, shaping policy, improving practice, and fostering social transformation. Please join me in giving Dr. McAlpine a warm welcome. Kate, the floor is yours.
Thank you, and thank you for joining us, everybody. I'm hugely flattered to be the opening voice in this conference, and I'm very excited to be with you today. If you hear bells in the background, I'm actually in Venice at the moment, and they seem to ring the bells at frequent intervals. What I'm going to do is to put a presentation up, but it's not one that requires note-taking or anything like that. I'm literally going to talk with you, okay? So let me see if I can get the tech working, which is always stage one. Okay, can everybody see that? Yeah, okay. So, right, let me kick myself off. I mean, maybe I start with context. So, I grew up in a household where my brother was groomed to lead the family business, and girls were expected to marry. So, old style, patriarchal Scottish family. After earning my degree from Oxford, I was told that there was no place for me in the family business. And being the strong-minded woman that I am, I left the country and headed to Tanzania. And that sparked a 30-year journey in violence prevention and youth empowerment across East Africa and the UK. My personal experience taught me how easily power can silence, exclude, and harm, especially when it's wrapped up in good intentions. It also shaped my deepest conviction that people, and especially young people, must not only be heard, but must shape the systems that affect them. That belief sits at the heart of my work, whether I'm co-designing violence prevention tools with students in Tanzania or building participatory frameworks for social impact in East African carbon markets. So this keynote is not about showcasing any answers. It's an invitation to grapple together, to ask how do we practice qualitative research in ways that honor relationships, resist extractivism, and nurture emancipatory change? How do we listen deeply, politically, and stay with the discomfort of complexity rather than resolve it too quickly? My personal story is one of refusal, one of building alternatives, and one of trying and often failing to do research differently. What I offer today are fragments from that journey, organized around the four aspirants: listening, learning, leading. And each comes with tensions, and each demands something more from us as scholars, practitioners, and people. Listening is often framed as the data gathering phase in research. But in practice, I've come to see listening as something far deeper. It's not just a technique for extracting stories and views. It's an ethical stance, a commitment to relationship. When we listen with head, heart, and will, not just with curiosity, but with care and humility, we begin to recognize others not as data sources, but as holders of knowledge, experience, and agency. Listening becomes an act of recognition. And for those whose voices are routinely silenced, Indigenous people, young people, women in patriarchal spaces, that recognition is a radical act. But listening is never neutral. I bring my own story, my assumptions, my social positioning into every encounter, whether I name it or not. The researcher is not an invisible instrument. We are present, porous, and influential. That's why when I speak openly about my positionality as a white, foreign, professional woman working in a deeply communal, often patriarchal and post-colonial contexts, I have to constantly ask, what am I hearing? What am I not hearing? And why? Whose silences am I complicit in? I am always reminded in the field that real listening demands vulnerability. People tell stories through metaphor, silence, and sometimes avoidance. If I come looking for clean narratives or clear answers, I would miss everything. It's only by slowing down, returning again, and listening to what is said and unsaid that trust and insight begin to emerge. So for me, listening is relational, it's reflexive, and it's also political. It's about making space without presuming neutrality, about recognizing that how we listen shapes what is told and what is withheld. This kind of listening, slow, relational, reflexive, is incredibly hard to sustain in a world that rewards speed, certainty, and deliverables. It's much easier to collect quotes than to sit with contradictions, easier to summarize than to stay present to discomfort. To bring this listening into life more broadly, not just in research, but in teams, families, institutions, requires daily practice. For me, that looks like asking more questions than I answer, being happy to be interrupted, striving and often failing to pause before responding, naming when I don't know, and noticing my instincts to speak, to fix, to lead, and choosing sometimes to hold back. It means trying to create space in meetings for people who usually defer, It means noticing when someone says something twice and asking why. It means being accountable when I've misheard or failed to hear. Relational listening isn't soft, it's rigorous, and it demands more of us, especially when we're the ones being listened to. We're often trained to pursue clarity, to find the pattern, name the variable, and explain the outcome. But when learning becomes a process of knowing with, rather than knowing about, that clarity dissolves. Instead of a linear journey towards understanding, we enter a landscape shaped by relationship, tension, and negotiation. We're no longer experts collecting meaning, we are co-participants in its making. This shift is exhilarating, but it's also disorienting, because it asks, what does it mean to learn when there's no consensus? What counts as knowledge when silence speaks louder than speech? Can we honor what we do not fully understand? In this stance, the challenge isn't just methodological, it's ethical. Co-construction requires us to stay present in the discomfort of ambiguity, to resist rushing towards closure, to accept that we may not be able to translate every insight into academic language. It also forces us to confront the limits of our own reflexivity. Even when we invite participation, whose terms are we really operating on? Whose timelines? Whose logics? Practicing this kind of learning means recognizing that our presence shifts the field, that our own ways of knowing are never neutral, and it calls for a humility that is not performative, but practiced. If we take seriously the idea that knowledge is co-created, then we must also take seriously our accountability to that knowledge, to the people and relationships through which it emerges, not just as data points, but as co-authors of meaning. Learning with, then, is a commitment, a stance, and often a struggle. So, it through many traditions, spiritual, communal, indigenous. It's a deliberate commitment to decenter control and to lead through care, humility, and accountability. In my own work, this has meant stepping back as the principal investigator and stepping into different kinds of responsibility. Ones that involve creating space, not filling it, holding structure, but not directing flow. But this is not easy for me. I carry strengths that serve me well. I'm a maximizer, learner, strategist. I see patterns, connect ideas, move fast, and love excellence. But those same strengths cast shadows. I burn bright, and sometimes I burn too bright, dimming others without meaning to. I can move quickly towards synthesis, even when the group is still sitting in complexity. I can center clarity when what's needed is presence. Leading from behind, then, is not just a methodological choice. It's a daily practice of restraint, of noticing when my energy takes up space, of recognizing when my expertise might silence someone else's knowing. It means trusting the process when it feels slow, trusting others when my instinct is to steer, and staying present, not with control, but with commitment. Servant praxis, for me, is not about leading less. It's about leading differently. It's about using whatever power I have to make space and then remaining accountable for how that space is held. As researchers, we're often positioned, implicitly or explicitly, as change agents. We're funded to generate impact, to evaluate interventions, to deliver insights that inform action. But what does it mean to seek change through research, when the systems we're working within are often unjust to begin with? I've come to believe that not all change is good. Not all change is emancipatory. Emancipatory change happens when those most affected define it, shape it, and hold it. Not when it's delivered through a log frame, not when it's measured in outputs, not when it fits neatly into our theories of change. For researchers, this creates a tension. We want to be useful, to support positive transformation. But unless we're careful, our methods and our presence can end up reinforcing the very systems we hope to critique. Emancipatory praxis challenges us to ask harder questions. Are we creating space for communities to reshape the systems they're embedded in? Or are we helping them to adapt to systems that should be dismantled? Are we reporting change or reproducing the comfort of technical success? This work demands a different orientation, one that resists closure, that makes structures visible, and that supports not just voice, but power. For me, that means being willing to confront how research can obscure, harm in the name of progress. It means choosing structural liberation over neat outcomes. And it means standing with communities, not as observers or facilitators, but as people equally implicated in the work of justice. Emancipatory praxis doesn't promise resolution, but it does promise alignment with the people and the struggles that matter most. I've shared some fragments with you today, not conclusions, not models, but invitations. We've walked through 4 aspirations: to listen, to learn, to lead, and to support change. Each is difficult, each is messy, and each demands more of us, not just as researchers, but as people in relationship. I've come to see that practicing research as relational praxis means refusing neutrality. It means showing up with humility and courage. It means listening beyond what is said, learning with rather than about, leading by making space, and always asking, what does justice require here? This is not easy work. It's slow, it's iterative, it's full of contradiction, and it will often leave us unsure of whether we're getting it right. But perhaps that's the point, that we move not towards certainty, but toward integrity, that we hold power lightly, but accountably, that we remember our impact is not in what we publish, but what we practice. So I leave you with this. What kind of research might be possible if we lived it as a relationship? If we let go of the need to resolve and instead stayed present to what emerges together? Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. I'm going to open it up to questions and comments, and so, and maybe some hellos. Any questions for Kate? Well, Kate, while people are thinking about questions that they might have, I am going to, well, first of all, say that we have Dr. Otis Simmons on the call, who was one of Kate's doctoral professors and who taught her grounded theory. And my question actually relates to that is I just wondered about how grounded theory, grounded action, kind of influenced or informed the research you've done and your career since.
Oh, yeah, it was pretty seminal, I think, really an early days researcher, because it provided a sort of a set of grounding values first, which was so helpful to say, you don't need to go in really with anything predefined other than an open stance, which is incredibly liberating in a world where everybody wants you to define research designs up front. But I think I've played with them, particularly the grounded action process that Dr. Simmons sort of pioneered. I've really played with and expanded that. And it really led me towards this comfort with, I'm trying to generate practical knowledge and that serves justice rather than just knowledge that sits on a shelf. I work a lot in international development contexts, and I mean, there's a ton of research that's just done and nothing, it affects nothing. It's completely meaningless. So the idea of grounded and therefore practical action was really liberating for me to say, oh, you can build a practice around this.
Thank you. I know for me, it also taught like the importance of sitting and listening, like grounded theory did, like, and just listening to what people had to say without coming at it with my own ideas or what I was going to say, and just like that deep listening.
Yeah.
I just wanted to reflect on that, Kara, too. Something that you said, Kate, was how we listen is reflective about what is told. And that really stood out to me, and something that I think about, when I'm in any context in life, as a friend, as a person, as a college instructor, all of those things. And
Yeah.
really, thank you for that.
Your work reminds me of the work that a professor and MD at University of Washington in Seattle. Name is Noel Benzikri or something like that. I'm having trouble remembering. At any rate, I've met with her a few times, and she's also worked in Africa. I don't remember. It could be Tanzania. I'm not really sure. I'd have to look into it. But
Yeah.
I think the two of you might find it interesting to communicate. I'll contact her and see if she's interested. And if you'd like, I can give her your,
Wonderful. I'd love that. Yes,
yeah,
please.
because it sounds very similar. And she also teaches qualitative methods at
Uh-huh.
University of
Okay.
Washington. And
Yeah,
she's an absolutely delightful person, and an MD as well, So, at any rate,
fantastic.
I'll ask her if she'd be interested in communicating with you. But
Great. Thank you. I'd appreciate that.
Ruth, would I see your hand is up?
Hi, thanks. I don't even know if I have a question, but all of what you said resonated. So I was writing notes the entire time, and co-authorship of meaning was a like a major one that came out and resonated with me. And also the from expert to servant praxis, like these are conceptualizations that I think we kind of are grappling with when in these spaces of people talking about co-construction and action research and trying to understand their role in it as a leader, and not trying to level power or trying to sort of find some place where horizontally we all sit in this. It's recognizing that we don't. um, and speaking to leading differently, not less, and using the power you have to make space. So it's recognizing the power is there. And so these are kind of all things that resonate. And I just was hoping you could sort of extend that out a bit around co-authorship of meaning and what that means for participants and people involved in your research. Like how that might, I think, because coming into, I guess I'll give you my context coming into grounded theory. My work in my dissertation was constructivist, and I came into this sort of space of learning, wanting to understand classical grounded theory a bit more in the context of what I've already learned, and then grounded action to extend that out. So I'm like, where do those things not? Where is there a contrast, and where is there where are they similar, I guess, is what I'm trying to situate myself. I'm very novice in this fellowship, so lots of questions.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I have any neat answers for you, but certainly what I've found, because I did my PhD now 10 years ago, so I sort of feel like I'm no longer early, but as I've gone on the journey, I've sort of felt more confident stretching. And actually, I was originally trained as the facilitator. I do a lot more sense-making activities with participants than I would have dared to 10 years ago. I would have thought, oh, I have a facilitation practice and then I have a research practice. And actually now I've just merged the two. So, because I've really found that, yes, narrative research is the starting point of creating space for people to reflect on, their stories. But then there's something around the potential to convene them together and for them to reflect on their stories collectively. And so we do quite a lot, because I work with young people a lot. We do sort of 3D mapping, and we use photo voice and lots of sort of creative methodologies around sense making. So like the research ahead is like, okay, I'm listening deeply, and we've got sort of text that we can code. But then I sort of extend it more into, okay, let's not just up and out of the field, but then do activities with people in the field where they make sense of their own narratives.
It helps to know it that way, sense making, or yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, I've been reflecting as you talked, and I've made some sort of realizations here. I've been teaching for close to 55 years, teaching and mentoring grounded theory. And so most of the time I'm in teacher mode. And it's been a long time since I've done an interview. And I would probably struggle. I would have to read your work to remind myself this is a different context with a different purpose.
Yeah.
And I think back to my dissertation, because way back when I was interviewing people in an alcohol, so-called alcoholics, and following very much of what you said. I remember one guy one time, I was sitting in the sort of community room, and I was sitting on a couch, and I was just sort of chatting, what I call extemporaneous interviews with one of the residents there, and another guy came up and said, uh, something like, why are you asking those questions, or something like that. I forget exactly what it is, but and the guy I was talking to said, "Oh, shut up! This is the first guy in this place to ever listen to me."
Yeah.
Because they were so accustomed to being told rather than listened to.
Yeah.
And so like I say, what my insight here is that I would probably struggle trying to shift from teacher mode. Do you ever have an issue with that?
I think I have an issue with not necessarily the modality, but being able to carry that listening mode over into other domains of life. So I'm pretty good in the field, because I'm in the
Yeah,
field.
yeah.
But my husband would say I don't carry it into, our personal life at all. I'm notorious for not listening.
Well, that seems to be kind of endemic to relationships in a way. But anyhow, I find your work very fascinating.
Thank you.
I kind of don't know what to say, but I feel like I want to say that this was incredibly powerful. The thing that stood out to me, the justice isn't always visible as change, and change isn't always a sign of justice. And I live in California in the United States, and right now we're grappling with that as the other parts of the world are as well. But I think we kind of lived with blinders about how much we weren't, as Otis just said, we're telling more than we're listening. And I think, Otis, that's a really powerful statement on so many levels, because we've stopped the listening. And thinking of research in a relational context was an aha moment too, of what are we doing the research for. And I teach at undergrad at Cal Poly in positive psychology, and they're grappling because this is the first time in their lives, and in all of our lives in some degrees, that we've seen this layer of injustice. I think it's been there. I think we're aware, and I'm hoping we're waking up as we move along. But I also had to tell you that a hummingbird just came up to my window when you started speaking and just was sitting there, which is very unusual. So the signs around that, but thank you for the work you're doing. And for this, I really didn't expect to be feeling what I'm feeling listening to you today. So thank you for that.
Gosh, thank you so much.
Brendan, I see your hand is raised.
Thanks, Kate. That was an awesome presentation. It was really inspirational with the work that you're doing. I've got a question more around, I suppose, the researcher's voice in research. Often you don't hear it, or it doesn't get spoken, or it doesn't get acknowledged. I was just wondering, where do you see the researcher's own thoughts and assumptions shaping the study, and how do you maintain the integrity and distinguishing their voices from the participant voices? And your thoughts on that?
Oh, it's a great question. I think actually that where I'm weakest is giving enough voice to participants in the final write-ups. And actually I have a bit of an overly strong voice because my sort of special sauce is writing. So I really like the writing stage. And I always feel like you're never really capturing participants' voices just with, extracts and quotes and things. So I think I'm quite a hard judge on myself. But then when we do these circles of validation with participants, so we always try to close the feedback loop. Once we've produced something, we actually take it back to the people who created it. And very often they will say, no, this says this. It says everything that I wanted to say, but didn't feel able to. So I wonder if it's not necessarily whose voice you're hearing, but are you hearing the voice of the exercise? Like if you've done your listening and your sense making well enough, the eventual voice should just reflect that authentically. And you shouldn't then necessarily have to switch between voices. But it's something I grapple with a little bit.
And thank you. It's very hard to, I understand what you're saying, because it's hard to hear it in any person's research. And it's a constant thing that I'm thinking about in my own research, is where or how would I potentially write that? But I think you've answered the question and helped some clarity for myself, in the sense that, does there need to be two voices? So thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Do we have any other questions? Okay. Well, I want to, first of all, thank Kate. Kate, thank you so much for being our keynote speaker, for sharing with us. I feel like we all were touched by what you had to share. I think it caused us all to think. I don't know about all of you, but I feel like it's a video that I'm going to come back to and listen to because I found it inspirational and thought-provoking, and there were so many tidbits in there that I want to just kind of reflect on more. And again, Kate, I just want to thank you.